Carver was, and still is, a world-famous agricultural scientist and inventor. Carver was born near Diamond Grove, Missouri. His exact birthday is unknown, just like most slaves born at that time, but it's thought he was born in January or June of 1864. George and his mother were kidnapped by slave traders, but their owners, Moses and Susan Carver, enlisted their neighbor to try and get them back. Their neighbor, a man by the name of John Bentley, came back with only George, who he traded for with Moses Carver's finest racehorse. George had gotten the whooping cough from his journey, and his vocal cords were affected for the rest of his life, making his voice sound higher than usual.
Thank you, Mr. Habrilla. And it's quite an experience to sit back and have your life story acted out for you.
Carver once said, "I literally lived in the woods. I wanted to know every strange stone, flower, insect, bird, or beast. No one could tell me." He even got nicknamed the Plant Doctor for his obsession. Carver traveled to Neosho, Missouri to start attending school. He lived with a midwife named Maria, who brought him further on the path of plants with her knowledge of herbs. He then graduated from Minneapolis High School, then went to Simpson College, followed by a transition to the Iowa State Agricultural School to study botany. Carver became the first African American to earn a Bachelor of Science degree, followed by a Master's of Agriculture degree. He then followed his dream and left Iowa to Tuskegee University to teach farmers about plants. Carver was influenced by many people to reach where he did in his life. Some examples are Susan Carver, the Seymour family, Maria, Miss Etta Budd, and Booker T. Washington. Washington was really important because he gave Carver the chance to teach at Tuskegee University. He spent most of his time working at different farms, helping farmers implement his solutions, while teaching a university class at the same time. Throughout the years, Carver gained a national as well as an international reputation. The path to his success was a hindered and unclear one. One obstacle that was shown time and time again in his life was racism. Carver first saw racism when he was living in Fort Scott, Kansas. A black man accused of a crime was hanged and burned to the pleasure of the hundreds of people in the crowd who accepted this openly. Another example of racism in his life was when he applied to Highland College. He got accepted, and the admission letter was signed by the principal. He then arrived at the campus using all of his money for the traveling there, only to be rejected by the principal because of his color, leaving him penniless. Later in his life, Carver started working at the Bureau of Plant Industry of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Carver's life showed how a person should live, getting introduced to your passion at a young age, following it, encountering obstacles that strengthen your resolve, and making decisions that will help you with what you think is right. George Washington Carver died on January 5th, 1943 at Tuskegee University after falling down the stairs of his home when he was 78 years old. Carver is buried next to Booker T. Washington on the Tuskegee University grounds. George Washington Carver's legacy lives on today and will probably live on far longer than our generation. Carver has a monument dedicated to him as a birthplace called the George Washington Carver National Monument. Carver won the Roosevelt Medal for Outstanding Service, the Spingarn Medal, and the British Royal Society for the Arts throughout his life. He got into the National Agricultural Hall of Fame and the Hall of Fame for Great Americans. Dozens of schools and streets, mostly in Missouri, have been named after him. Carver helped people work to save lives, like using the crop rotation system to save farmland. His whole life showed how he was completely selfless, working to help others with what he loved. Even his epitaph says, he could have had fortune to fame, but caring for neither, he found happiness and honor in being helpful to the world. George Washington Carver was a man that many idolized for his life fraught with racism and pain, but then ending up being such a selfless and compassionate person that he sacrificed most of his life for the progress of others.